My name is Dietrich. Yes, and this session is about PDF's ISO standardized subsets. So we have been hearing about PDF-A and PDF-X and PDF-UA a lot. So this is about, providing an overview about what subset standards exist, so what we are working on at ISO. It's going to be quick, so I have a couple of slides, but that is just because there are quite a few standards. And then, of course, we will always have kind of a break, and then we jump to the next standard. I'd like to start with PDF-2.0, although that is not obviously a subset standard. It is, in fact, the only full standard, so it is PDF itself. However, it still makes sense to mention it here. So we are PDF currently is at version 2.0, the first standard that has been completely developed at ISO. So up until PDF 1.7, everything was developed by Adobe. Then it went over to ISO, became 32000-1 there, which more or less was a copy of PDF 1.7, and then 32000-2 is a complete rework under the rules of ISO. And we are working on yet another version, an update of PDF-2.0, which is becoming a dated revision. Peter and Duff are the project leaders here, so they are working hard on making it even more consistent, stretching out some bug fixes. So there aren't any new features in this new version. It is hopefully done, so it's just went out to a hopefully final ballot to the countries that can vote on it, and that means probably, hopefully, in the next year we will have a new variant of PDF-2.0. It will not change anything on a technical level. There won't, again, not be any new features. It will just be more straightforward, more clear, more consistent. And because it is so, we have, and that is the reason why I'm talking about this here, we have also decided to develop new versions of all the PDF-based subset standards that then will be based on this new dated revision of PDF-2.0. So dated revision because there are no features. So it will still remain to be PDF-2.0. It will just say colon 2020, hopefully, and only in the very bad case 2021. No, Peter says no. So. And yes, there were lots of discussion, lots of work. I mean, if you look at the amount of fixes that we have been working on, it's huge. It's really a huge amount of work. It's really impressive. However, it's impressive, although it doesn't change much. So it's just a clarification on bugs. So making the life of implementers more easy because it's just more clear. So now, okay, if we have this rocket solid PDF basis, so why would we even care about having subset standards? The reason is PDF is complex, so the standard itself has 1,000 pages almost, and then it references many other standards like font standards, the Unicode specification, ICC profile standards, the XMP metadata platform, and so forth. So it's 1,000 pages referencing several more 1,000 pages and other specifications. So it's huge, it's very complex, and if you would want to implement everything right from now, it will take you several years. On the other hand, there are various use cases of PDF where PDF really is essential, namely in print. Print can't exist as it exists today without PDF, or archival, or accessibility. So there are various use cases where PDF is not just nice, but it's essential. And because of that, it makes sense to have subset standards that define how a PDF should look like when it's being used in certain workflows. So the goals here are we want to have standards for interoperability for defined processes with clear and simple rules, workflows within companies, interoperability between companies, and then relieving users. So if you have an archive, you don't have to think about defining your own rules. So you don't want to accept any PDF file in an archive. No interactivity, for instance. But you don't have to say that. You don't have to define the rules and pick a software that can validate that yourself. You can just rely on predefined subset standards. And when you're exchanging data, it also clarifies responsibilities between the creator of a PDF file and the processor of the thing. So that is the overview that I want to cover. We have got PDFX for the print and prepress publishing industry, PDFA and PDFE, and I will say when I come to that why they are together here. PDFUA, then we've got PDFVT and PDFVCR, and then finally we've got PDFR. And then I have been asked, okay, why do we need that many? So why not just one subset standard that defines what a reliable PDF file is? That actually is a very good question. The reason is the requirements are actually different. So in the print industry, you have different requirements in detail than when it comes to archival. For accessibility, you have very demanding requirements actually as compared to PDFA. And the reason why we have that many standards, it makes the life of a creator application easier to just have to look at a set of requirements that are defined for a particular process. Just saying, okay, this is the way to create a good PDF file would impose many more difficult requirements to such processes. However, when we were working on these new variants of all these subset standards, ISO, they are now, or they will now be so designed that wherever possible, they use exactly the same text. So in PDFA and PDFX, for instance, you will find the very same text when it comes to font requirements. And that makes the life of implementers easier. So assume an implementer wants to support PDFX and PDFA at the same time. The implementer only has to write the code for that once and can use the very same code for two PDF-based subset standards. So, starting our tour, PDFX. PDFX is the oldest of the subset standards. It came from the print industry. So when PDF was developed, the print industry quickly found out that this is a great thing to do instead of the huge EPS files or open files like Quark Express files at that point of time. With references to image, just have one rather small, comparatively small file is a really nice thing, but not every PDF file prints nice. So they asked for development of a subset of PDF for their purposes. And that was PDFX. X stands for exchange. And PDFX is, of course, related to the print standards. It's today widely used and accepted, so the print industry is actually using it. But it's also broad, so it covers offset printing, magazine ads, everything, and for many purposes. Because you have different requirements for an advertisement in a newspaper than for a flyer that goes through a digital printing machine. So there are industry standards, industry specifications that build on PFX from the Ghent PDF workgroup and other groups. PFX, in fact, is a family, so it has started off in 1999, 2001, two flavors as PDFX 1A, and that is still widely used. So this is still, for many printers, the thing that they require. It's the most, is a stripped down, easiest version of the three flavors that we see here. It allows only CMYK and only the print color space, CMYK and spot colors. Doesn't allow transparency, doesn't allow layers, yeah. And then the difference to PFX3 here is PFX3 introduced device-independent workflows. So we have heard William just about even advanced device-independent color applications with N-color rents, 7 color rents or so. Here we are talking about 4 color rents in general, so CMYK or RGB, 3 color rents workflows, but instead of having every color device dependent in the 4 color rents, with each color comes with an ICC profile so that it can be converted, for instance, from ICC based RGB in a defined, via defined algorithms into a destination color space. So this became possible with PFX3, and PFX4 is based on a newer version of PDF, and that means you can then also use transparency and layers. I don't want to go into detail here, but this is, from a processing point of view, a huge achievement, because up until here you have to flatten all transparency in a PDF file, which is a complex and error-prone process, and here you can keep live transparency like shadows also in a PDF file. You don't have to flatten them, makes the file smaller, and it's much easier to process transparency when it comes to creating the print plates. So it's kind of unfortunate that many printers still use PFX 1A, although their equipment would allow them to use PFX 4, but that is how it is as of today. And PFX4 also is the basis for other subset standards which I will talk about later on. So next version, I said, so for each of these subsets we will have a next version. This is PFX6. We know at PFX4, and PFX5 is just a bunch of special standards. There is not much new in PFX6. Else from what comes in new via PDF 2.0. So the only thing that is new there is that annotations are permitted. And then there are a couple of things that are defined in PDF 2.0, and because PFX6 it will be based on PDF 2.0, you can use all of these things in PFX6. These are, again, they are really specialities printers would understand. I don't think that we have to go into detail here. The thing that is important maybe still is we are going in parallel with PDF 2.0 dated revision. That means at the very moment, hopefully pretty much at the same time when PDF 2.0 dated revision comes out, PFX6 will also become available. And then, because we are not looking at PDF at this conference, I also want to look beyond. So what else could we do in pre-press or publishing? What other formats might be useful here? And I can't really see any alternatives in general. So what we have been using before in the industry was EPS, PostScript, or even or these what we call open files. But that was not a good thing, so nobody wants to go back. There is still one strange thing. There's just one industry which still, I mean, every print industry uses PDF except one, and that is customer communications, where AFP is used, the format that comes from the IBM world. However, even there, PDF is frequently used. What they do is, because AFP is more, it's protocol. It also is a protocol, not just a page description. What they do is they use AFP, but internally they use PDF, so they kind of embed PDF files into AFP. Yeah? Which brings us to the end of PDFX, and in this presentation, of course. Then we are at PDFA and PDFE. PDFA came out around 5 years, 6 to 5 years after PDFX. It was actually in its development driven by mostly US organizations, industry, government, but the uptake was, at least in the first place, mostly in Europe, and it was actually pretty fast there, and mainly used to replace in digital archives the TIFF format. TIFF format was, rather big files, difficult to have more than just one page in a file, possible but difficult, no color. So PDF was much better compression. So there was pretty quick uptake of PDFA in the archive. Today it's, I don't know, but I think most of the files today are digitally born, so most of the files are today not TIFFs, from scanned paper. There are files that had originally been created as digital office files or so, but then converted when put into the archive. PDFA is an archivable format, but it's also used in various ways for document interchange between companies. So we had various examples for PDFA3 here, Zugford invoices, but also for specification of parts for production. So there are many such things. If we look at it from a maybe historical point of view, it's maybe interesting to know that where PDFX was still kind of pre-product of paper, so it was much related to paper. PDFA is really something that is destined to be digital forever. Okay, we also for PDFA we have a couple of flavors. PDFA 1 was the first, just a couple of limitations to general PDF. PDFA2 was based on PDF, on a newer version of PDF. PDF1, it was based on ISO 3000-1 already, so it was based on another ISO standard. And again, we have here transparency similar to PDFX4. And then we have the two flavors. So these are the conformance level B, which is, I would say that the existing PDFA files, 99% are still here. From new ones, many are by now at PDFA2B. And in some cases, people use the Unicode variant, where in addition to the other requirements, texture search is always possible because you have this Unicode support, and PDF, and the conformance level A in addition requires tagging, and that is by now succeeded by PDFUA, but we will come to that later. I haven't touched on PDFA2 in the previous slide because I think the number here is misleading. PDFA3 is not an update to PDFA2. PDFA3 is just something different because these these all are always archivable because you have full control, you have rules that apply to everything in the file, while here you have arbitrary extensions to the file that are not always archivable. So you would use PDF-A3 from an archivist standpoint only if you have some control about what is embedded into the file. Okay, next here we will have PDF-A4. Again, this is going to probably come out next year together with PDF-X6 and PDF-2.0 dated revision with a couple of improvements. Mostly it will be easier to create because after experiences that have been made, we relaxed some requirements for metadata and for font subsets. Some things were inherited from PDF-2.0 or will be inherited, and there will be PDF-A4, which is just the successor of PDF-A2B, I should say here, and then there will be PDF-A4F as a successor of PDF-A3, and then we decided to integrate PDF-E into PDF-A, and that will be conformance level PDF-A4E. And I have a slide on PDF-E here, which is about to die because because the industry, it came actually from the industry. Industry said, okay, PDF-E by now is not that much used, so but what we actually need is an archivable format. And then the industry basically said, okay, something in the series of PDF-A standards would fit our needs better than a PDF-E standard. So it's basically really the work that has been done in PDF-E now being integrated into PDF-A. And as I've said before, because we were about to harmonize the texts of the standards anyway, that was a fairly easy operation. So it just was not much that had to be changed in the standards. Okay. Alternatives to PDF-A, I mean, what can you use? You can use paper archives, or you could use TIFF in the digital archive. So I don't really see an alternative. Of course, also PDF has its limitations. So when it comes to archiving video, audio, chats, websites, we all know PDF is not the all-enclosing format. PDF-VT, PDF-VCR, I'd like to be very quick here. These are for, that had been designed for commercial, for customer communication, invoice printing and so forth, based on PDF-X4. It has been designed as an alternative to AFP, but in fact it is not much in use as of today. And I think one of the problems, and that actually was also a topic of a discussion yesterday here, one of the problems is that it can't do what the customer communications say is ticketing. They can't, you can't have metadata in a PDF-VT data stream that allows you to specify, I don't know, this next 5 pages are an invoice for this person, and you need to do so in order to put that invoice into an envelope and send it into the right direction when mailing the invoice. So you can do that in PDF-VT3 via, so in the next variant you can do that via other standards, so via PDF-2.0, the default metadata, and via this print product metadata standard that allows you or specifies an interoperable way to put this metadata into a PDF file. And then there is PDF-VCR, which is really specialized. It's about this, maybe just that you heard about it. It's PDF-VCR, it exists. It's real-time printing, if you want. So you read data, in this example, from a credit card via a camera, and then you retrieve other data from your repository somehow, and then use that data to print an envelope for the credit card, for instance. Alternatives here, not for PDF VCR only, but for commercial print. As I've said before, in fact, they still use AFP in this industry. PDF UA for accessibility came out in 2014. It's often compared to HTML or EPUB, where in these formats you have accessibility. You always have tagging, while in PDF it is optional. And PDF is about to become more, PDF UA is about to become more important for governments, or in the public sector, or for control, for limited industries where there are that have to publish everything in an accessible. It is enforced somewhere. And interestingly, tagging structure is not just for accessibility; it is also for repurposing a text reflow. So if you have a fully tagged PDF file, you can actually do many more things with it. You can do screen reading, but you can also do repurposing. You could also do text reflow. So in fact, just a much richer PDF file. One thought about this comparison with HTML, what I think is, if I create an HTML page, I have to create all these tags for that, and then I have my website, and then from then on it's easy, or it's that much work to get an accessible site. However, I shouldn't forget that I had to work with these tags in order to create the website in the first place. And with a PDF file, it's much easier to create the PDF file in the first place. However, then I will have to do with the tagging information in order to make it accessible. So when I complain about the amount of work that I need to do in order to get from the PDF without text to a PDF file with text, I shouldn't forget that I actually had to do the same for HTML as well. Anyway, technicalities. Again, we are harmonizing these standards, and actually also PDF UA already uses the same font requirements as PDF A2U used. One thing that is unique about PDF UA compared to the other subsets is there is a requirement that not everything machine, you always have to have a semantic check reflects the content and the semantics of the document. PDF UA 2, other than the other new subset standards, will need more time, so it won't come out in the next year. Yes. And then we have alternatives here, and I have already mentioned these alternatives. Last one is PDFR. It is not an ISO standard yet, so this is a new work. It is, however, a standard that has been defined by the PDF Association under the term PDF raster. It is a development that the PDF Association did together with Twain, while Twain is an organization representing the imaging industry and standards for scanners, basically. So the interface from a scanner to Word, where Twain of standards and to have creating a standard that allows TIFF in the workflows in their interface with PDF. It will be a much variant of PDF, and it is the same as PDFX and PDFA. Currently going to this, and hopefully will also be published together with the other ones in the next year. Yeah, alternatives we don't really have here. I mean, currently they're using TIFF, but then we all know about the limitations when it comes to TIFF. Several pages, more colors, smaller files, so PDF-R is there the next step, and that is the overview at the end. So these are all the flavors of PDF, the sub-PDF subset standards of ISO, and yeah, I wanted to provide you with an overview about them, and that brings me to the end of my presentation and allows you to ask questions if you have any.